Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister famously promised during the election that he would negotiate a win, and I quote, with the U.S. President, get a deal by July 21st. Here we are in December, months after his self-imposed deadline, still no win, still no deal, still no elbows, still no jobs. Since he became Prime Minister promising an end to U.S. tariffs, they've actually doubled on autos, aluminum, steel, and they've tripled on Canadian lumber, a subject about which the member for Cariboo Prince George will be speaking as I split the time with him. Now, that brings the tariff to 45% on Canadian lumber, the highest in Canadian history. Now, before we go from the normal liberal transition that they make around this time, from making promises to making excuses, where they suggest that there's nothing they could possibly do about American tariffs on Canadian lumber, let's be clear. Prime Minister Stephen Harper negotiated an end to and refund of American softwood lumber tariffs within 79 days of becoming Prime Minister. This Liberal government has been in power for 10 years, and they have not been able to get rid of the tariffs that were imposed on Canada mere months after then Prime Minister Trudeau took office. Furthermore, since this Prime Minister came into office, not only has he failed in more than double the time as Prime Minister that Stephen Harper had to get a deal, not only has he failed to achieve the same, but the tariffs have tripled to levels not even imaginable before he took office. Now, you might have asked, what is it that he could have done differently? This Prime Minister not only failed to make softwood lumber a negotiating priority in his dealings with President Trump, he unilaterally backed down. He reversed Canada's dispute of multiple legal disputes against the illegal and indefensible tariffs. And let me read a headline right out of Bloomberg. Canada ends fight against some U.S. softwood lumber duties. Ottawa has revoked 2 separate claims disputing U.S. anti-dumping duties. He claimed, this Prime Minister claimed, this was a, quote, strategic choice, that he was making some kind of brilliant chess move, backing away and giving a major concession to the U.S. administration without getting anything in return. And let's be clear, there is not a single tariff that the American tariff that this Prime Minister got reduced in exchange for this concession. It was a unilateral climb down, and since that time, the U.S. President has not only increased tariffs, but broadened them to new products not previously covered, like cabinetry and trucks. So the Prime Minister, who claimed that these tariffs were an existential threat to Canada, requiring his immediate election back in the spring, now says, who cares? Yeah. Who cares? When he's asked about how the talks are going with the U.S. We've gone from elbows up to who cares. That's the distinction between the pre-election Prime Minister and the post-election Prime Minister. I'll tell you who cares. We care.
That's right.
We care about the workers, the 30 sawmills in British Columbia that have closed under this Liberal government's diplomatic failures. We care about the 150 union workers laid off at the Ear Falls sawmill.
We care about the workers in Chibougamau.
150 workers who lost their jobs at the 100 Mile House in BC and amid market challenges. We care about the 350 workers at the Sinclair Forest Group facing now a 40% production cut. Madam Speaker, this is a massive industry of over $20 billion that has more people working in it than steel, aluminum, and autos combined. We need these jobs. Conservatives will put negotiating the end to the softwood lumber tariffs at the front of our objectives. We will take all taxes off home building so that we can use more Canadian lumber to build more affordable homes. Housing, after all, is a tariff-proof industry because after you build those homes in Canada, they do not face U.S. tariffs. We will speed up permitting, free up land, and build more homes, all of which will revitalize and rebuild our logging and our mill towns so that they can have great jobs providing the best lumber anywhere in the world. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments. L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, I've got a comment and I've got a question for the Leader of the Opposition. My comment would be, it sounds to me like there's selective amnesia from him and from the Conservative, because this has been going on for 40 years. He just reminded us of one time under Prime Minister Harper. But it really has happened 5 times. This is the 5th time over 40 years. So let's talk about the whole situation. The second point is that it's a question for the Leader of the Opposition. He's very good at criticizing the Prime Minister on every single step, but I've never heard what his plan would be to negotiate with the President of the United States. I would love to hear that from him.
He'll click his heel.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
So, Madam Speaker, he claims that this is a 40-year-long dispute, but he omits the fact that the 10 years Conservatives were in power, we successfully negotiated an end to the softwood lumber tariffs.
And a 1-year grace period. And
furthermore, one time for 10 years, during which, by the way, the Americans actually paid back $4 billion of previously collected tariffs. By contrast, those tariffs came back in when this Liberal government took office. They have had 3 presidents and 10 years to reverse that defeat that happened under their watch. And not only have they not done it, the tariffs have gone from their original 7% to then 15%. And then when this Prime Minister took office, they went up to 45%. Just to show how much worse things are today than when the Liberal government took office, and in particular, than when this Prime Minister took office, making grand promises that he was a three-dimensional chess player who could outwit the world and get us a deal. Madam Speaker, I'll tell you what I would have done differently. I never would have dropped the legal challenges. I would have kept fighting on to get our money back. I would have fought for every mill and logging town in this country. That's what I would have done differently.
Questions et commentaires. L'honorable député.
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Madam Speaker, what people in the forestry industry want to hear tonight is not punchy things or plays on words. It's not who cares, who cares. That's not what they want to hear tonight. They want to hear people who are willing to make commitments and who are studying the solutions that have been proposed. There was a solution proposed a few weeks ago, and I haven't heard the members of that party talking about it. They say we need to get back the countervailing or the countervailing duties. So what I want to hear from the Leader of the Official Opposition is he willing to support that solution? Is he willing to support the forestry industry and give them a little bit of room to breathe? The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I proposed solutions. I said we should put softwood, we should make it one of the top priorities for trade talks with the Americans in order to reopen this historic market, a market that continues to increase its wood imports from Europe. We should also restore our cases in court. We should be fighting those U.S. tariffs in court. They're illegal. And we should also massively increase the construction of housing by scrapping the taxes and red tape that prevents builders from building. We're building fewer houses now than in 1972, and it's all because of bureaucracy and red tape and taxes. If those houses could be built with Canadian softwood, that would be the solution.
Central Rockies.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for his speech. I met with lumber workers this morning representing mill town workers from the Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies, towns from Golden, Sicamous, Salmon Arm, all the way to Kamloops. They are concerned about the jobs already lost and the jobs that are on the line. And they talked about a Prime Minister that says, who cares? I'd like to hear from the Leader of the Official Opposition why we should care. It's not just the jobs in the mills themselves, but all of the others that are reliant on that as well.
Very brief answer from the Honourable Leader of the
Absolutely. In
Opposition.
fact, I would go even further. I thank the member for fighting for forestry communities right across British Columbia. But I would go even further than him. It's not just livelihoods. There are literally mill towns and logging towns that will not exist if this continued tariff applies. They are unable to sell their product into the United States competitively with a 45% tariff, an unprecedented tariff level. Madam Speaker, we need to save these mill towns and these jobs by opening up the market.